taking a critical look at the gaming news of the week. This is Augmented Reality, presented by the Triple S League.
Hello everybody, welcome to Augmented Reality, your source for news, leaks, and insights about games and the gaming industry. January 8th, 2019 is the date. It is the Wednesday edition of the show. My name is Ash. I am here with Cyb, but he was down for basic maintenance all morning, pretty much, and he's still booting up, so he may be less talkative than usual, and I know what you're thinking. The Hallelujah chorus is going through your minds right now, but he'll still speak up when there's important things to say, but as to sort of help out with make sure there isn't just, me just talking to myself this whole time, we've got the Mad Queen with us from the Mad Queen Show. Hello, the Mad Queen. Welcome, and thank you for joining us today.
Greetings, Earthlings, and my pleasure. You know that I'm always in when it's about Cyberpunk.
And we are all in about Cyberpunk as well. It is now less than 100 days until the release of Cyberpunk 2077. Fun fact, we have kind of a history with this 100-day timeline to game releases. We started our channel, our first ever video was posted exactly 100 days before the release of Fallout 4, and it was a Fallout 4 video. That's how we got started, and now here we are, several years later, and we're counting down the days to Cyberpunk 2077. It's a pretty exciting time, and we're going to be talking about, there's been a couple of interesting articles posted as everyone's looking forward and sort of anticipating Cyberpunk 2077. There's a lot of discussion about what this game is promising and whether or not it can deliver on those promises, and so we're going to look at two articles that kind of take, not exactly opposite sides, but one that's like really excited this is going to redefine the genre, and another that's like, I'm nervous, about whether or not it's going to be able to deliver on what it's promising. And so we'll look at both sides of that and get the opinions of these fine folks here as well. Could EA possibly be learning from its mistakes? We will look at something that suggests maybe they are, maybe things will get better, or, even if just marginally with what EA is doing, we'll see. And I'm hoping to get Cyb's input on that.
Yes, this is not a rhetorical question.
Yeah, no, it's rhetorical. No, I don't even know how to process that. I mean, EA has, of course, had a terrible track record, but with Jedi Fallen Order and some things that have happened since with Respawn Studios, well, we'll see. It's possible they might be looking at catering more to core gamers who want those single-player experiences with the heavy narratives and things like that. Probably alongside everything else they're doing. But we'll talk about that later in the show. We're going to get into Cyberpunk first. But if you're listening live this afternoon, please, or depends where you are in the world. I should really just say, today. Actually, in some parts of the world, it's tomorrow. So if you're listening live today or tomorrow, please say hello in the live chat. Send us your questions and comments there as well. We'll read and respond to as many as we can throughout the podcast. And don't forget to slam that like button. It likes it rough, and it tells us and YouTube that you appreciate this content. If you're listening after the fact on one of the audio-only platforms, we're glad you're here as well. We appreciate your likes and follows. It does take us a bit of time to get the podcast up to those platforms. So if you want to get the latest info sooner, we encourage you to hit the link in the description there to subscribe to the Triple S League YouTube channel. Couple of interesting, just really quick, found some interesting info. The Computer Electronics Show is going on, or recently. I'm not sure what the actual dates are. I don't know if it's still going on. Apparently Alienware showed off a console, a Switch-like handheld console prototype at the CES. So that's interesting. Apparently there's rumors we're going to be getting a Nintendo Switch Pro next year, and here's the coup de grace of the entire thing. There's a Chinese website, the Economic Daily, that believes that Apple is working on a gaming PC. So, yeah.
That wasn't that news past year that Apple was working on a gaming PC?
Well, they recently launched their platform, that mobile platform, the Apple Arcade. But yeah, I hadn't heard about it, the PC side. Feel free to chime in if this is not new news. But the Economic Daily is claiming that recent market reports about Apple show that the company is planning on pushing out a gaming PC specifically aimed at the esports crowd this year for around $5,000. Yikes. Okay. I mean,
That's the average price of an Apple computer.
yeah. Well, is it that expensive? Really? They're
Yes. Yes, they
run of the
are.
mill PCs,
Yeah,
or
Yeah.
their average PCs have always been that high. Back in like the I don't know, early aughts, there was a whole bunch of stuff that some of the sound crew like audio dub people that I worked with. There was one computer they bought for 10 grand, and I was like, you could buy like 10 like PCs with the same price, and they're like, but I can't do the same stuff, and I'm like, debatable.
It's funny because back in the day, it was Apple was incredibly successful amongst designers because it was way more stable and faster, and the difference in price was somehow justified, but not nowadays.
Terror K with the hot take. Finally, we'll be able to play the latest Mac game, Warcraft 3, at really high res.
Yep. Well, and that's the point that makes me shake my head and wonder, like, why, like just generally why.
Well, because they're clearly going to go for a more high
It's
end.
good marketing. That's the thing. They created a brand that people want to have, regardless of the price. That the marketing that they did is great. They can charge you double for something, and people will pay it. Will pay for it because it's Apple, because it has an Apple on it, and that's it. That's the only thing that you're paying 3,000 for the computer and 2,000 for the Apple.
I'm trying to break my wife of her attachment to her iPhone and try to get her over to something else, but it's
I have
hard.
an iPhone and I hate it.
Do you?
Fortunately, I didn't pay for it. It was my company phone. But as soon as it doesn't work anymore, I'm going to buy a completely different brand because it's fucking useless.
I broke out of the iPhone market many years ago and haven't looked back. I'm just a lot happier with. Of course, a lot of the Android models are getting just as ridiculously expensive now, but
it's a lot of markup. But Ricky, when he was doing the hosting the other night, he kind of was roasting everybody, and one of the favorite lines was like, they made this incredible good show, Apple, that talks about all the terrible things that happened and all this stuff from a company that runs sweatshops. Yep. Hey, from a company that not only runs sweatshops, but when their working class was starting to commit to self checkout too much, instead of paying them more money, giving them less than 120 hours a week, instead of doing stuff like that, they just installed nets to catch the people as they flung themselves off of the top of the building. It's like that's a good way. That's like, why not just do that? Yeah,
that's why I always roll my eyes when I see these big corporations morally grandstanding. But anyway, let's get off that and talk about the other one thing is apparently Google Stadia is not doing well.
No.
The numbers are dropping like crazy.
What a surprise!
I know, hey. Who'd have
I
thought?
don't know if I sounded sarcastic enough. I can say again, what a surprise!
That was definitely sarcasm. All right. So, anyway, on to what we're actually interested in here. So, Cyberpunk 2077. A couple of articles, like I said, wanted to get into. We have one from Josh West at Games Radar. The headline here, Big in 2020, Cyberpunk 2077 will give us a glimpse into the next generation of RPGs. This is part of a series they're doing called Big in 2020, where they're looking at 20 games that are kind of going to lay the groundwork or set the standard for the industry. The article starts off like this: "It isn't a question of if Cyberpunk 2077 is going to revolutionize the RPG, but rather a question of how drastically." Now, that's quite a statement right off the bat. I think
I always have the same opinion about it. It's all a matter of money. The rest of the companies of AAA gaming in the world are now observing the Project Red, and it's not only about the quality of the game. It's mostly about the sales. If the game does a shit ton of money, and it's looking like it's going to make a shit ton of money, even if it's bad, it's going to be copied.
Yes, pre-orders have
Yeah.
gone crazy, so they've already made a whole bunch of money. But yeah, now do you agree with this?
Is this a way of showing other companies that you can make money making a good game? Because right now the gaming industry is going down due to the greed of companies that want to make more money with giving less to the players. And if you invest more time in development and invest that time in delivering a bug-free game that is good and that people like and that offers a value for the money that you're paying for it, because AAA games, they are not cheap. If you manage to do all that and you make a shit ton of money that justifies going crazy in development, I believe that how drastically is Cyberpunk 2077 going to influence RPGs in the future? Well, I think it will depend on the numbers. So quite drastically, I would say.
Fair enough. Do you think in terms of core gameplay, though, do you think that it will set a new standard or really be something above and beyond anything we've ever seen? I mean, it's going to be bigger, and it's going to... I believe this game is definitely going to set the bar pretty high in a lot of ways. Do you think that as far as the core RPG mechanics themselves, that it's going to set a new standard?
Well, The Witcher 3 already set the standard, so I believe that Cyberpunk will do the same.
Yeah.
You need companies that pushes things forward. The thing is that, well, not all the companies can afford. I mean, the craziness of The Witcher that past week, they had a peak of 100,000 recurrent players on Steam, I believe. And more copies sold. People were throwing money at the project faces again, which is great. But not all the companies can afford going this crazy in development. So one thing is that companies may want to imitate it, but they need an amount of resources that it is not at the hand of everybody.
Very true. And I wonder if there's other practices that they could emulate. Like, I wonder if there are ways that CDPR reduces bloat and overhead that perhaps other companies
the DLC, the free DLC thing, I'm sure that a lot of companies thought that it was a great marketing move to offer free DLCs, like you are offering a better deal.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
this is something that has been imitated. Sorry, please go on.
Yeah, well, I think this is one of the things that, so here's a professional level hint for you. If you want to know what's going on and you want to know what the real chances of things are, go to like the big bookies, and I can't say bees very well right now. I need to up my programming. You go to the bookies who are taking big bets from really rich people or a lot of people, and you look at their chances and the numbers they're giving, and you'll be able to tell what's going where. And the same can be really said in some cases towards the financial industry. So if the financial industry is sitting back and saying, you got to watch the stock, it's a good chance that it's going to do well. Not a perfect chance. There's definitely been a lot of mistakes. Lots and lots of criminal activity there as well. But overall, right now, the just the general stock market industry, people who do this for a living, bookies and all that, they're putting their money down on this. You remember how fast all the collector's editions sold out, right? A lot of those are bots who buy out the collector's editions and then will turn around and sell them for $200, $300, $400 down the road, whether it's close to release or after release or whatever. And they're doing that not because they can, and that it's just something that they do for all the games. They don't do that for all the games. They only do that for the games that they suspect that they're going to be able to buy, 20, 30, 40 of these things and then turn them around. Because if not, then I mean that's a lot of money that they just wasted. And there were some bots who did that during the whole Anthem thing, and that got them a big fat a big fat zero. So yeah,
bit of not much of a return on investment there.
No, but you can see that both people who gamble, with their investments, and then people who also are very serious about their investments, they're all looking at CDPR, scratching their chin, going, well, EA, Activision, they've really kind of fell through this last year. Maybe this is where to put your money if you want to be in the games industry.
All right. Now, this same article I was reading goes on to talk about what some of what has already been expressed here by those of us talking here, as well as in the chat, that The Witcher 3 set some standards and definitely revolutionized its own genre, or at least set a new standard for that genre of game that it falls into, and that it compares then the sort of the run-up to The Witcher 3 to the current run-up that we're into Cyberpunk right now, and how CDPR handled that in a very similar fashion to what it's doing now, navigating through skepticism and delays with a gentle wave of walkthrough demonstrations and revealing interviews. In 2014, The Witcher 3 seemed too good to be true until it wasn't. And, it basically delivered, now not without it. Some hiccups along the way. Of course, it launched with a fair share of bugs, but once those were all dealt with, we had a very, very solid game that people are still buying up and playing to this day. And, the Witcher Netflix series has definitely helped with that. But anyway. So
but there's a thing that comparing it to The Witcher 3 that we shall remember, that not that they were noobs doing The Witcher 3, but the quality jump from The Witcher 2 to The Witcher 3 was massive. I mean, it was with The Witcher 3 was incredibly it was massive compared to The Witcher 2. I'm trying to find the word. Oh, well, what I mean is that they gained a lot of experience from The Witcher 3. So I believe that this is going to be applied. There are certain things in which we cannot compare one game to the other, because now they have an experience that they didn't have back then.
Very true. Very true. All right. But I wanted to also highlight this other article that is from Dave Thier at Forbes. And now there's no share of, we've discussed this before. Media negativity towards Cyberpunk tends to get clicks. Now, that I'm not saying that this article is not authentic. It's more of an opinion piece, and it could, this may be his legitimate opinion. But anyway, that's not really the point of going through this today. He does make, an interesting set of points with how big this game, Cyberpunk 2077, is. How much it's promising. Can it really deliver? Is it going to be as good as we're anticipating? And he says,
well, I believe that the problem is more what people are expecting, because they imagine that to be in the game, than really the promises.
Right.
Because this is something that we see every time that we do the community podcast. There are people making questions that are like, I'm sorry, but I believe that this is not the game that you're expecting, because you have some expectancies that have absolutely nothing to do with Cyberpunk. And this is the part that I'm more afraid of.
That's a fair point, that there's false expectations based on, assumptions or not actual info that is out there that the game is not promising. But so that is a fair point. I don't know. You have any thoughts on that, Cyb?
Well, I mean, yeah, there used to be this old saying that was hanging around the. There's an old saying. It's like the game could be good or the movie can be good. It's not going to fix all your problems. If you got a cold, doesn't matter how good the movie is. It might make you feel a lot better. It's not going to cure your cold.
Hmm.
You know, and it's, well, I mean, it's like the, you know, Patch Adams, and the whole concept is like, well, humor can help. Well, yeah, humor can really help. Actually, you know, science has proven that it can 100% help. It's not the sole cure. There, you have to do the other things that you have to do. So, you know, some people, they're expecting this to be the next, you know, the coming of the next great age of video games. It can certainly help in that regard. It can't do it by itself. It can certainly set a new precedent. It's not going to be the only game that you'll have installed on your computer for the rest of your life. And nor should we want it that way, because for sure the devs don't want that to happen. You know, if you're a creator and you create something that's so good and so perfect that nobody ever needs to create anything again, that's kind of counterintuitive to the act of creation. So yeah, there's some people who are taking it. I mean, I'm being a little hyperbolic, but there are people who are definitely taking it a little too far, and they're expecting something. They're expecting a level of greatness. They're expecting a level of like sheer, you know, um, amazingness that is unhealthy, I think. And this is where we have to like tap people on the shoulder and say, you know, you can calm down just a little bit. You don't have to lose your mind. You know, it's good. Not to say that it's not any of those things, which you know, we and you know, we believe that it is going to be one of the best games there is. But some people do take it a little too far. They think that it's going to have modes and forms and stuff that it's not meant to have, and that was never on the table. And you know, and I see this every now and then. It's like some people are really upset by everything and anything that they come across. It's like, calm down. First of all, it is a game. It is, you know, it's a good game. It's just a game though, and you have to have some level of like, you know, I'm not going to, you know, I'm not going to need to, you know, move out to a shack somewhere, just have the game, and that's all I'll need for the rest of my life. That's too much. But they're talking to some people, they kind of lean that way, and it's kind of cringy because you're like, dude, calm down. Like, no, seriously, calm down. Take a couple steps. This isn't the end of you know, everything. It's like what happened with the Star Wars MMO that came out, that BioWare put out a few years ago. There were people who, so it's got these 4 classes with arguably 3 different ways of playing that class all the way through the development, and it's like 60 hours to kind of like to take a really deep dive through that game, playing each class, and each side of each class. And there's 4 stories on each side because there's 2 factions. So you're looking at least 24, if not 36 different ways of playing the game. There were some people who 2 months after the game had released were like, I've mained or I've brought up a character, played through all the stories on all of the characters. I want something else to do. And the devs looked at them and said, you should tell these people to go outside and take a walk and like, you know, talk to their friends and or try and make some friends. Because if you manage to sink in, you know, 80 to 100 hours a week into this game, and you've done this for the last like 2.5 months, you need some help. Like, and seriously, that is unhealthy for anything. I mean, it's unhealthy when you get paid for it, like, let alone like, you know, just all day, 12 hours a day, 16 hours a day at the very minimum. Like,
Yeah.
that, too much.
You gotta have a balanced life to be a healthy,
Yeah.
to be in a healthy place. Yeah, for sure. But yes, so yeah, very good points. I mean, it is, at the end of the day, it's a video game. It's not going to be the holodeck from Star Trek that can just create anything your heart desires and simulate literally anything. You know, it's going to be a video game, and it's coming at an interesting time, sort of on this border between the current and next generations of technology, especially consoles, and as we're learning now, processors, and we're just on the cusp of RTX technology. And so it is going to be necessarily limited by our current tech. I think it's going to push it to the absolute limits, but those limits are still going to be there. Like, it's not going to be able to surpass, what the technology available is able to do within that game. And we talk a lot about what's coming in the future, and using AI in game development, and a lot of the hardware advances that are going to allow for some pretty incredible things, but we're not there yet. And this is a game that's been created over the last several years using current tech, so we got to keep that in mind too. It's not exactly a next gen title. It's kind of it's possible they'll release an enhanced version for next generation, or like that double release scenario that we often talk about. Anyway, I want to get the Mad Queen back in here and get your thoughts on this. Do you have
All
any?
right. About the next generation, I don't know how crazy they want, because they are pushing the limits of what we have available on the consoles right now. People is a little concerned for a downgrade, because for what happened in The Witcher 3, that the consoles kind of not forced, force them to downgrade the game if they wanted to sell it on consoles, because they didn't allow that the PC version was better. But they are PC gamers, so probably they did the game having PC hardware in mind. And for this reason, I believe that that it's going to be better for next generation. Not in the sense that that's been created for the PlayStation 5 and the Scarlet. How is the Scarlet called?
I'm sorry. The
Scarlet.
The release name for it. I don't know. I've been calling it the Scarlet for so long. Like, geez.
But I guess that when you have the PC in mind, it's completely different to when you have the console in mind. You just have to find a way to make a port. That's the thing.
Yeah, Series X. That's what they're calling it. And,
except the Series
good
X,
Lord.
it's very confusing, because then it was reported that no, it's not actually called the Series X. They're just calling it the Xbox, and the Series X is like the line of Xboxes or something. It's very confusing. But anyway, the next Xbox, that skyscraper thing that looks like a refrigerator or a
It's
humidifier.
kind of ugly. Sorry to say so, but it's kind of ugly.
I agree with you. I think I don't know if there's a technical reason for the design, if it has something to do with, heat dissipation or something. But anyway, I've always pointed out that if you're one of those people that places the console on the table in front of your TV, it's going to block part of the screen. But anyway, that's really off topic. So
Didn't think of it.
I just remember that's how we always used to do things. You'd put the Nintendo or the whatever you had, because they would lay flat and horizontal. We'd put them on top, just right in front of the TV.
Well, no, back in the day, you used to be on top of the TV.
Well, you could do it that way. Do you remember when computer monitors would actually sit on top of the CPU unit, like on top of the case, because they were built horizontally? Anyway, we're going off on a weird tangent. All right. So this Forbes article says, what I've seen so far looks dicey. The first-person combat is wildly different from third-person combat, and some of what I saw at E3 didn't look quite smooth, and there were some scenarios that didn't seem like they could quite cooperate with the promise of different playstyles or branching narratives. Crowds looked a little wooden, menus looked dense and incomprehensible. Now, I don't know if he's talking about E3 2019 or 2018. I'm going to assume he's talking about 2019. But I know there was a big change between those two. Then he goes on, I don't know if I was seeing necessary compromises for bringing a game of this scale down to the size of an E3 demo, or necessary compromises for making a game of this scale at all. And then he goes on to say that he really wants this game to be everything that he perceives CD Projekt Red has promised, but he's not sure that any developer can nail up, every part of a project that's this big.
We call this person a doubter. Because as much as I'm saying, cool your jets when it comes to expecting what you shouldn't reasonably expect, I'm also not saying that this isn't going to be the game of the year title for sure, hands down.
Mhm.
Because it will be, and it deserves to be. So, well, I mean, from the outside looking in so far. But
Absolutely.
yeah, this is one of these things where it's like, I think he's being a little overly negative in the hope, maybe, that it's not going to be as good, so that he can complain about it. I mean, I like.
Well,
I
negativity
guess.
towards Cyberpunk right now sells more than
Mhm.
positivity because everybody's saying positive things. So saying the negative thing is the one that clickbaits.
Yeah.
So
Well,
at
and I
this
mean,
point, it's very difficult to be able to tell who is being honest and who is doing it for because now it's trendy to
mhm.
complain on Cyberpunk.
Yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
and that's not good. So
Because I am sure, I mean, I don't mean that everybody has the obligation to like it. Obviously, there are people who watched it on E3 and there were things that they didn't like. But we reached the point that it's hard for me to tell the difference between the people who's being honest and the people who just wants to go against the game because it's the trend that sells.
yeah, and it really is moving. I mean, stuff. I mean, we, us, some other YouTubers all had to deal with somebody making claims and another company making claims on legitimately everything Cyberpunk, everything Witcher. Why are they doing this right now? Well, I mean, I don't want to be conspiratorial, but I would surmise that because Cyberpunk and The Witcher right now are both two very, 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 very popular things, that it would behoove a major company like this to lay claim to as many things as they can accidentally, using air quotes, where they accidentally claimed, "Oh, sorry guys, we claimed everything. Just let us know if any of it's yours, though. We'll let that pass." And for sure, they're not going to like take us to court or try to take any of our content or any of the other people's content who do say raise their hand and go, that's not yours. But they're still going to be left with a lot of things on the table when all is said and done. And whether that's analytics, whether that's advertising money, whether that's the ability to remove them so that their own people can do better, I mean, that's just what's happening right now. So like I said, lots of people are going, wow, this is a
Oh,
really good
if you mean this German company, they
thing.
have been doing this accidental mistake
Oh
for
yeah, yeah,
3 years now, I believe.
yeah, on many different things, right? So
Mhm.
it's but it just goes to show that they're putting their eyes on this title now, because this is about to go through the roof, and I think they want to corner the market as much as possible.
I
So
also have the theory, it may be true or maybe not,
mhm.
that they just claimed all the content of their creators, and some may do gameplay and show parts of games, and that's why the YouTube is automatically issuing copyright claims on things
Mhm.
that
Oh yeah,
are contained in the videos of the people.
yeah, because it could, and that's the other part of the problem with when it comes to YouTube and all of their problems right now, is because it's like you don't know which of the two nefarious, really creepy, and outrageously stupid things this is. Like, we just don't know right now, and that's part of the problem.
Mhm. Anyway, that's I mean that's kind of internal YouTube stuff. We put a video out on that yesterday, mostly to call out the person who, or the not the person that this network that was claiming videos. Got a lot of traction though. There was a lot of people that seemed interested in that. But anyway, yeah. So it's definitely going to be. It's definitely going to be a big title. I think it's definitely one that there's going to be lots of content on for years to come, especially if they do bring in modding, as we're anticipating that they are eventually going to do.
It won't be right away.
It won't be
they
right
do
away.
do it, it won't
No,
be right
it won't
away.
be right away. And I mean, there's a chance. I mean, obviously, it depends on. They're not promising anything, but it depends on if they're able to do that after the game releases. They're focusing on getting the game out the door, and then they're looking at future plans. As you know, they've consistently said that. Yeah, there's things we're thinking about doing. There's things we might do down the road, but we are going to. We're focusing on getting the door on, or the door. We're focusing on getting the game out the door first. That's first and foremost the priority. So I think we are definitely going to get a game with a high level of polish. Is it going to be a perfect game? Well, of course not. They're very, they seem to be a very a studio with a very high attention to detail, somewhat perfectionistic, but of course, there's not. It's not going to be perfect. There are going to definitely be aspects of it that will be worthy of criticism, because that's just impossible that won't be the case. But we're anticipating it's going to be a fantastic game, and one that we're going to be playing and enjoying for a long while. And for those who are fans of the Cyberpunk tabletop games, like the Mad Queen, this is probably. I mean, you must be getting pretty excited, as we're about 98 days away from release now.
Whoa, you wouldn't believe.
What are you going to do with yourself for the next few months? Just make tons and tons of content, which is what you normally do. But
Well, yes, I'm preparing a lot of content from here to release, but once the game is in my hands, I'm probably going to disappear for a week at least.
no, you're not going to live stream your first playthrough?
No, not the first. The first is going to be private.
Is your first time, should always be.
The first time is going to be private, and I want it that way. Because no, also when you're on stream, you also pending on the comments, pending on a lot of things, if everything is working, and you are not focusing on the game.
That is true. That's one of the hazards of doing a day one stream. There's always stuff that goes wrong, and it's hard. It's harder to just. I remember tons of times doing day one streams of games and then missing tons of the story in the opening cinematics and stuff, just because you're talking with chat, you're focusing on other technical streams or technical aspects of the stream, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's the main reason why I want it to be private, and I want to save the first impression to myself. Then maybe I'll make a review, but first I want to enjoy the game, and then the rest. Mm-hmm. First, I'm a gamer, and then I'm a YouTuber.
Plus, there's a lot, as the Dorian Gray points out in the chat. There's a lot of people who have been on the Cyberpunk 2077 anticipation train since 2013, which is longer than we've been on YouTube, by a couple of years. So a lot of people have just been anticipating this game for a very long time. There's a lot of Cyberpunk fans in the world that are definitely looking forward to this. And I've never played the tabletop games before. Wasn't much of a tabletop RPG gamer to begin with, but the Cyberpunk genre of video games has always been one of my favorites. So yeah, yes, the 2013 squad. Game Notes says, first reaction, shaking my head, I'm crying before the start menu.
Yeah,
that's probably Mad Queen's reaction. I mean, let's just be honest here.
Well, yes, when the Lord of the Rings was on theaters, I already read the book 11 times before it was on theaters. My friends wanted to go with me to see the film because I was going to be the spectacle, not the film.
Sorry, Artalsorian Games is yelling at me. Because I haven't played the tabletop game Cyberpunk. I'm sorry, it's just not my. I have just didn't have friends that were into those things. You know what I mean? I was into Star Wars. That was my thing.
I was also into Star Wars, but that didn't prevent me from playing Cyberpunk 2020. That's no excuse.
There's no excuse.
Jesus, there's no excuse there. Sure.
Not only that, you are still in time to correct that.
That is very true. That is very true. I have no argument here. I have nothing to say to myself. I have nothing to say for myself. Clearly, this is inexcusable behavior, and I should go. I need to go do penance and whatever else. But anyway, I shall strive to correct my ways. But anyway, yeah, it's gonna be awesome. And shout out to Artel Saurian Games in the chat. Welcome to. There's a Star Wars TRPG. There's several of them. Look, I'm at a loss for words. I'm being scolded by Artel Saurian now.
We're going to do some more tabletop stuff because it is very fun to do. So you know, we're looking into it. We're looking into it. And as far as Artel Saurian goes, it's like, yeah, we've got something. You've still got something planned there, right? Don't say anything. Just nod and smile.
All right. Any further thoughts on this? Any further thoughts on the hype, the anticipation for Cyberpunk?
Did you just say just nod and smile?
Just nod and smile.
Just nod and smile. The hype for Cyberpunk and
people is asking about the 10th.
The 10th.
Yeah, a lot of people are expecting something to happen on the 10th.
Is the 10th of is that an important date in Cyberpunk lore?
That was, of course it is. I sent you a note on this. So
all you said was we're expecting something on the 10th.
We had the beep on the 10th last year. It was last year, right? And it's a kind of a big day for CDPR in general. So yeah,
for CDPR, okay. Does it connect to Cyberpunk lore at all?
I mean, not lore, but they're setting up lore, so it's something is going to have something to do with something.
Thanks.
So, I mean, I'm not guaranteeing it. I'm just saying that it's a day that they've been propping up for a while now, for both them and also for their related games and IPs. So it's also a really good marketing day because last year, that alone would just one single thing, and you had nonstop, people talking about it for just a single word, a 4-letter word, and people were talking about it for what, 4 weeks almost straight. It's like, man, did you hear about the beep? What about the beep? It was a beep.
There was a beep.
So, yeah.
Yeah, well, actually, that was the conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's all that they did. Beep.
Yep.
And that's it. And people went crazy. So, yes, the 10th. I hope they're doing something on the 10th.
All right. Anything else to say before we move on to talking about the other main story we have today, which is the story we have one of the founders of Respawn has been moved to one of the DICE studios and the implications of that. But any final thoughts on Cyberpunk 2077 then?
Well, just keep your ear to the grindstone, or to the tracks, or to whatever metaphor you like using, because we've got stuff coming, and when I say we, I mean CDPR has stuff coming between now and the end of the month. So,
Terror K has an interesting question here, and it's directed at Mad Queen Show, but I'll just ask it here. On this note, are there any key dates, lore-wise, now that we're in 2020, that could be used by CDPR for announcements, possibly?
Well, the thing is that the most interesting things in the lore happened in 2013 and in 2022 and 23. Not in 2020.
He meant days, like days.
But
that's what I.
2020. I mean, day of 2020
is there anything like, say, some key thing happened on February 7th, 2020 in the game lore? That would be an ideal date for CD Projekt to announce or release something.
The Carbon Plague, but I don't remember what happened. Give me a second to check the exact date.
Mm-hmm.
If like, I mean, one day that I would say definitely put on your calendars is the 14th of February. That's been a big thing for them in the past. I would be really shocked if we don't get something equally as eye-opening, right? So
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, in 2020 you only have the carbon plate, but I can't find exactly what day it was. And then you have April 13th, which is the Arasaka riot.
mm-hmm.
That is directly related to Johnny Silverhand.
And was that in 20? So
that was in 2013.
that's in 2013, though. Yeah, I was
Yes.
going to say that was not in 2020. So anyway, so maybe not. We'll see. Frogget67 is asking about system requirements. Have we had anything about the system requirements? I don't recall. There was like speculated system requirements floating around a few weeks ago, but that was speculated and probably not.
those were rumor. Those came from a somewhat connected source. I wouldn't ignore it, but at the same time, I wouldn't also guarantee it. But it's probably within a reasonable ballpark. Within like, I suspect that's going to be within 5 to 10% typically. So, just because I mean, it's just the way that games are these days. It sure it'll run on anything within 20% of that, and up, obviously. But again, it's like I wouldn't be building your system off of it now unless you can get a very, 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 very good deal. So don't lose your mind, because some people have been doing that. So
Artel Sorian says 2020 was a quiet year in Cyberpunk because all the player characters were making noise. So there you go. So not a ton of historical dates there, but I mean, it's definitely an ideal year for the game to be releasing. Yusef asks, can you play as a cyber joker, a bozo who was abandoned and humiliated by society, going psycho and wreaking havoc? Well, you could, I don't see why you couldn't.
To start with.
What's that?
That's the standard of the bozo to start with.
I mean, you can definitely play your character that way. I don't know if you can like decide to be a bozo in the game, but
you cannot join any faction in the game. You can work with them, but you don't join in the sense that you are part of the faction. So you cannot join the bozos.
Right, not in any official capacity, but if you like in your own head write your backstory of your character and say, "Oh, I used to be a bozo."
I don't think that you will be able to customize your character to look like a bozo.
You don't think so?
Mm-mm.
That was.
You know that bozos bioscope themselves to look like clowns, and they have enormous fit and noses of clown, but they are real. The real nose is the nose of the clown.
I suspect strongly that we will see either the bozos or one of the other more unique groups, gangs, whatever you want to call them. I suspect we'll see one of those pop up in one of the DLCs as a primary focus, especially if they happen to do, I don't know, a Halloween DLC release. That's, I mean, think about it. You want a self-contained location, like, oh, I don't know, maybe an amusement park with a self-contained gang that is, primarily residing in that location, like the bozos, or maybe Infinite Bade. I'm just ballparking here, guys. I'm just ballparking here, but I mean, if I was a betting man, I'd say, maybe not necessarily the bozos, but maybe some other gang would be a primary focus in some DLC, or sorry, again, I know they don't call them DLCs, they call them expansions. Some kind of an expansion down the road maybe comes out around that time period. Or we might also see something come out for Valentine's Day too next year for one of the expansions, because again they really do like that Valentine's Day. So there's lots of different things that they can do.
The Valentine's Day expansion. The Mr. Stud and the Midnight Lady variations.
I was thinking about something more romantic, but there, yeah.
What's more romantic than getting your girlfriend a Mr. Stud? Don't
Shooting
overthink that.
bosses in the head with your girlfriend?
You know what? I would agree with you there. All right, so Vaco Extra V asks, does our choice in the game change the world? Like, if you help the government, do some people think you are a rat or that kind of thing? Anyway,
There is one thing that people seem to have a problem understanding, and you're a cyberpunk. You don't help the government in the sense that you can help an official, but you won't go as up in the ladder of the world to see big figures.
Right, but I think the point of the question was just like, do the things you do affect the world around you and how the characters in the game see you? And the answer is ultimately yes. I mean, do you want to go into more specifics about that?
Well, you have a reputation system, and depending on what you do, your reputation is going to be different. Some people are going to like you, some people are going to dislike you, and some people are going to try to kill you, which is going to be the funniest part, not knowing who.
Mm-hmm.
Because obviously there is the simple way of doing it and the complicated way of doing it. The simple way of doing it is like, I don't know, Fallout New Vegas. Everybody dislikes that.
You know, I hate romance quests in games typically, but the one kind I would love is if you hit on a character and then their like a significant other comes after you, chases you down at some random point in the future and tries to kill you. That is a romance quest I could get behind.
That's weird.
Yeah.
I loved it. This one of the things I loved about when I was playing, which one was it? Elder Scrolls Oblivion, I believe. Random assassins coming after me because of something I had done. And, you know,
Wait a second. This is something that is featured within video games?
Yeah. Wait, what?
This is not meaning that this is not something that happens to people on the regular basis.
Not typically.
I've got to figure out why that keeps happening to me.
It's because you open your mouth.
That's probably true.
But this is something that we already could see in the demo in 2018. When you face the scavengers at the beginning, then later on they try to go for you.
Mm-hmm. All right.
So you piss them off, they try to kill you.
Mm-hmm.
Sure, I believe.
Yeah, pretty much. Okay. All right. Well, you are listening to the Augmented Reality Podcast. We love seeing everybody so active in the live chat. Great discussion going on there today. If you want to keep the conversation going after the live broadcast, we welcome you to join our Discord community. You can find the link in the description below. It's a place where you can chat with us and other Triple S community members about all the things we love to talk about, stay up to date about everything we're doing here at the Triple S League. Click the link below to join, and be sure to say hi to us in the welcome channel. Also, while you're down in the description, check out the link, our affiliate link to Toink Toys, if you are looking for great collectibles, costumes, a variety of things from your favorite gaming, sci-fi, or what's the other gaming, sci-fi, fantasy IPs, TV shows, various things like that. Oddly enough, I don't know that they have any Cyberpunk stuff, but there's some cool stuff on there. I believe there's some Witcher stuff. So, yeah, we get a kickback if you use that link to purchase anything. That's a way you can support the channel and get some cool stuff. So yeah, we're going to be moving on to the EA topic. Now, EA is typically not a very fun topic of conversation for anybody in gaming. Usually we are looking...
No, it's hilarious. Actually, it's hilarious.
Guess it depends on your perspective. But there's some interesting moves that are being made, and an article in the LA Times about Respawn Entertainment, and it's leading a few people to ask, could things be getting better? Could EA be making improvements? I doubt they're going to revolutionize their entire business model, but the response to the success of Jedi Fallen Order seems to be positive. We've heard now that they are creating a sequel to Jedi Fallen Order. I mean, the game sold very well, so that only makes sense. But they're also moving Vince Zampella, one of the co-founders of Respawn Entertainment.
Mm-hmm.
He's not being moved, as in he's not leaving his position at Respawn, but he is going to also be the head of the LA-based DICE studio, and that DICE studio is going to be rebranding, and it's going to likely drop the DICE name. And Zampella says they're going to try to rebrand that studio. So DICE LA has a reputation for just sort of being a support studio for DICE Stockholm, but he wants to turn it into an independent studio working on their own projects. So this is very interesting. So EA is taking him from Respawn and saying, here, have this DICE studio as well. The move is being overseen by Laura Miele, who has been EA's chief studios officer for the past 18 months. And the past 18 months have been very good for Respawn. I mean, they had Apex Legends, which has tapered off, but it was definitely, it was a flash in the pan success, but it was definitely a success. And then, of course, Jedi Fallen Order. And Miele says her focus is on broadening the Electronic Arts portfolio. And then she anticipates that under Vince's leadership, the expectation is for DICE LA to work on and create a game on their own. So this is really interesting. So could this be a sign of better things to come for EA? Have they realized the mistakes, the errors of their ways? And will there be more of a focus from more studios than just Respawn on the single-player narrative-driven games? Or is this happening for other reasons? Is this false hope? What do you guys think?
So let me just quickly give you some numbers. So in 2016, or leading into 2016...
I'm so afraid when Obsidian starts with the word quickly.
Mm-hmm.
Please go ahead.
I know. So in 2016, their stock price was averaging around $62 US. 2017, they were averaging $76 US. That's good growth, not amazing. It's standard growth. There was a lot of dips in there. They got down to as low as 61 in mid 2017, early 2017, or sorry, early that was mid 2016. Early 2016, they were down to as low as 55. Going into from 2017 through to 2019, they experienced the same big jump that most computer tech game companies did. So Activision, a bunch of other studios, they all had a significant boom followed by a serious crash. So in 2017, they were sitting around the 89 bucks US. 2019, just before 2019, they sunk down to as low as 70, just above 75 bucks US, which is lower than where they were at kind of going into the whole 2017 era from 2016. So you take that out and you look at their stock growth. Right now, their average in 2019 has been 96. That's barely above the 89 that they were at before that whole like fake increase that ended up crashing and really hurt them and a lot of other people financially. So right now, their stockholders, they're private investors, they're big private investors, people who have millions and millions and millions of dollars in them, have been reaming them out on a regular basis. Not just them, it's like every major games company that's had this similar thing. Activision's had this, a bunch of other ones, Ubisoft. I mean, and all of them are panicking, or not necessarily panicking, but they're doing things to alleviate that and to try and grow and trying to restructure as much as they can, because it's been very clear that their stock growth and their return rate has been garbage. If you had put your money in the S&P 500, if you had put it in just the NASDAQ or the Dow, you would have gotten more money out of that than you would have by investing in electronics or arts. Now, yes, EA is on the NASDAQ. I understand that, but I'm just saying, just in general, it's like you would have been better off buying into a mutual fund during this past little while, unless you happen to sell out when it was really, 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 really high right before the crash. Which, I mean, yeah, sure, some people did, but that's not everybody. So right now they've been getting crap quite strongly from the companies and the investors that have put their money in this. And so they've got to do something to turn around their public perception and their stock's public perception as well, because it hasn't been going very well. So yeah, this is where they're at financially. Leadership wise, they realize that they need to do some stuff. Of course, they have no wish to walk away from the things that are making them easy money. You know, the loot boxes in the FIFA game, the other microtransactions in their car games and some of their other sports titles. It's like, of course they want that, because that stuff just prints money for them, and they're going to fight to maintain that. But if you were to take that away, if you were to slap some serious regulations on top of that stuff, they wouldn't be having a plus. They wouldn't be up at 96, 100 right now. They would be down in the hole, probably closer to the 40s or the 50s, if they didn't have that. So just take that and run with that logically. There's a good chance that that they've stepped too far, and that some of these governments are going to act, and they're going to start banning this stuff left, right, and center. And like I said, we talked about this before, how like governments need a win publicly, and this is something that either side of the political situation in many countries can easily take advantage of to score points, to say, hey, I did this, or hey, I'm going to do this. It's something that you say on the campaign trail. Will that result in a rule change? We don't know yet. We're still seeing how this plays out. There's a lot of money that's trying to prevent this from happening, but there's a lot of public interest in it. And if you're a politician, I mean, this is an easy win for you. What is not an easy win for you is going in and saying, you know what, we need to make sure that game companies continue to rip off your kids' future. That's what we need to do. Make sure that video game companies can walk in and take your child's life and throw it down the gutter. That's what we need. Nobody is going to do that. Nobody's stupid enough to do that. And unlike, oil lobbies and other lobbies, there's no money to be had in defending them. There's no EA-backed political group saying, "Hey, we hear you're running for governorship, or we're going to give your group here. We're going to give you guys $100 million to get elected with." There's none of that going on. So these game companies are between the anvil and the hammer right now, and their financial backers are not happy with them. Let's just leave it at that. So they're not happy with them.
So you figure this is financially motivated, is no surprise that if there's one thing that motivates a company like EA, it is the money. And if the money's coming in, their company is very ironically named Electronic Arts. I think it became.
I know, right?
It has ceased to be an art form for them a long time ago, but the art is not their focus. It's the dollars. And so is this maybe a convergence of factors? Is it maybe the political climate being anti-loot box, anti-predatory monetization, plus then you had Respawn have this win, and so they're saying, maybe we should hedge our bets and diversify a bit, and just make sure we focus on both aspects, both the single player narratives and the stuff that we can monetize the crap out of.
Mm-hmm.
Could that be?
I think
what's happening?
I think that's what they see. if you can have at least one good release a year and blow people's socks off with that release and have people defend you for making a good game and continuing on with a series that people enjoy, if you can manage to pull that off, then people are going to ignore your rather ludicrous and ridiculous microtransactions and poor whether it's backing a government regime that's responsible for human atrocities, the likes that I can't even mention here on YouTube. If as long as you can put out a good title, people are going to go, well, that's cool. Yeah, sign me up for vanilla. Let's do this. Come on, let's go. This is a good game. And that kind of stuff. So if that's the case, then I mean, that's the case then. So, so I mean, again, it's entirely up to the community how they react to this stuff going forward. And sure, it's not it's not perfect. So I would say that this is probably the plan going forward is to walk the line between the two things. And I mean, hell, we've already seen them look at themselves and say, yeah, we're not very greedy. We're not really into that. And it's like, dude, really? What are you? Wow. But then there's some fanboys out there who will defend them for that. So, anything can happen, really. So.
Now, Vince Zampella, he's got a lot of power and influence, obviously. He is on the board of EA, is he not?
I think so, yeah.
He does seem to have a lot of power, a lot of influence over what happens, at least, on his own studio. And somebody posted earlier in the chat, sorry I don't have the message in front of me, but about EA lightening up on their insistence on studios using the Frostbite engine. Now, I don't know, I mean, maybe you can speak to that, Sub. I know that, Respawn, they built Jedi Fallen Order using the Unreal Engine, and that was, I believe, an in-studio decision, and, Vince's sway probably had something to do with that. I don't know, are they lightening that restriction for other studios?
I think we'll probably see that happen. I don't know. I can't guarantee that, but we've been the entire industry has been saying it for a while. They're insane if they want to keep pushing that. It's just not good, and it's been something that there was a lot of push for. There was a lot of people in powerful positions going, "Hey guys, this is the future. We're going to be like Epic. We're going to do this. It's going to be amazing," and it just didn't work. And at some point, they have to look at themselves and say, "Yeah, you know what? This is we're beating our heads into a wall here, and it's starting to hurt. So let's just stop, because we can't afford to keep doing this." Because they get one more big if next Dragon Age game is just terrible and it's about as bad as Anthem is, that's not gonna kill Blizzard outright or BioWare outright. It's just going to mean that most of the staff at Blizzard is going to be let go, and there's going to be a lot of reshuffling, and they're going to start replacing people, and then they might abandon the company, they might shelve it, they might ice it. That might happen, but that's going to murder their stocks. At that point, it's going to be the beginning of the end, unless they manage to pull off 2 or 3 other great releases. Every time you get a bad release that's as bad as Anthem, you're basically shooting yourself in the foot, as much as having 2 to 3 really good top ranked games. So they'd have to pull, if they get one more bad loss, it could be anything, it could be any other studios, any studio where they've been making a game that's more than $100 million of investment. If they screw the next one up, they have to recover that twice over with 2 other good games, both in their professional reputations, in their financial services, and all the work and effort that they put into it. They have to recover that by that much, by being 2 good games out. So yeah, they're up against the wall here, and they have to do good. And that's what we're hearing from all these companies, and hearing from everybody. I don't know if they can do it because they've brain trained themselves. Every time they had a good thing, they took the idea, they took the IP, they took some of the good people, and then they let everybody go. And a lot of that included the original like brain children, or that's not the right metaphor. Like the people that were the cause of that success. I mean, at BioWare, they've lost almost everybody that was responsible for their past success and the magic that happened at BioWare. They've lost almost everybody. They've lost a lot of like mid-grade people, almost all of the top grade people. And then as far as like the grunts, they've lost about 30-40 of their really solid grunts, like the people who showed up, worked nonstop, were extremely talented at what they did. They lost their best people, about 40 of them. So can you really do that when all you have left is just like a handful of good people? And I'm not saying that all their good people is gone. There's some very good people that are still working at BioWare. You know who you are. But there's a lot of people there that are just there for the job, and they're just there to make money, and they're just there to grind. And they're good if they have good leadership, but their leadership is gone. So now they're kind of stuck with remnants. So
Okay.
I don't know if that answers it completely or not.
Well, I think it does it. I mean, we're kind of talking about the general climate and what's happening over there. I mean, this I think is a good sign that we have, some of Respawn's influence moving to another company now, and that it's looking like there's going to be a sequel to Jedi Fallen Order, and hopefully more of EA's studios will be allowed or encouraged to put out more narrative-driven single-player games that aren't full of, or even like good multiplayer that aren't full of monetization garbage, like predatory monetization, that kind of a thing. It's something we'll definitely be keeping our eye on. I mean, it's too early to make any grand predictions. We'll just have to see what happens. But hopefully they're learning from their mistakes of the past and being memed to high heaven, and hopefully it'll
Being
improve
ruthlessly mocked as one of the most hated companies in America.
Well, exactly, and that's got to be. I mean, if you're the top guy making billions of dollars, I don't know if you care about that or not. Maybe you do, but I'm sure I know there are a lot of good developers at many of EA's studios who do care about the art form and do care about they want to make good stuff, and hopefully the situation improves for all those people. Mad Queen will give you the last word on this if you have anything to say about EA's future and what direction you think it might be going.
Well, I am a very skeptic person.
Yes.
So, and Saib was saying that the comment that if they have a fame, maybe the person on top of that doesn't care. And I always say the same. It all relates to the money.
Mm-hmm.
If the money goes good, it doesn't matter the fame, because the fame is composed by people that know about gaming and complain about the things that we don't like. But the mass of the consumers are not people that are informed. That people that go to game and ask, what game do you have for me? Oh, this was Star Wars game. Okay, I'll buy it. Not everybody has the notion of what the game has inside. Maybe they don't even know what microtransactions are until they find them in front of them. I don't know if I'm making a point. I'm not sure if the market cares about all this. That's the thing that kept all these companies doing these kind of practices for so long. And in the
that's
end,
true.
if at the end of the day the numbers reach what they forecast, I don't think they give a shit. The moment that fails, the moment that the forecasts are not there, and they are maybe even lose money, that moment they will start to care about their fame. But the fame is only something. We live in the echo chamber of the internet, and we sometimes believe that the whole gaming community is like that. But not everybody wants to lose their time informing themselves about gaming. They just want to play a game. They just get home from their jobs, and they want to play for a while. They don't really care what's inside of the game as long as they're entertained. And they cater to those people.
All right. Well, I mean, I think it is definitely worthwhile being somewhat skeptical, but it's also, I think it's fair to point out when it looks like something good is happening with all the negative that we've reported about EA. So, like I said, I mean, I'm skeptical as well, and I definitely hope that things get better, but we'll see. I don't know that the climate is like that the culture at EA on a corporate level is necessarily changing, but the financial incentive might be necessarily driving them in that direction. And if so, if voting with our wallets is working, and of course there's that government pressure angle as well, which, I mean, for the most part we want the government, or our stance is we want the government to stay out of video games, but that may be a positive effect of that as well, is that it's
I'm not crossing my fingers hoping that the government gets involved in my favorite pastime.
Yeah,
it's like that's the last thing I want to have happen. And sometimes I state, how things are moving in a factual basis without really paying attention to how it sounds. So in this case, like, let me be utterly clear, is like I'm not hoping for this. I'm just saying that this is going to be a mantra that you will hear in politics coming down the road, because it's such an easy win that you're an idiot not to. And so people will open their mouth and talk about video games, even though they have no clue what they are. They have no idea how they work. They have no idea how the industry works. They don't even know what their kids are playing. They think their great grandkids are still playing the same Nintendo that their children played. Right? Like, this is, you're playing the Mario, and they're thinking of Mario 1, right? Like this is where their heads are at, because that's the last time they bothered to pay attention for more than 2 seconds. So I'm not saying this with any joy. I'm just stating generalized.
Interestingly enough, a lot of people still are playing a Mario 1.
Yeah. I mean that's
Mario,
true,
but
not for the reasons that the old people think they are.
Fair enough. All right, I think that's where we'll wrap it up for today. So thank you all so much for listening, for supporting this channel by listening and the show by listening live or after the fact. Don't forget to slam that like button before you leave and on to the next thing. We really appreciate that. It tells YouTube that this is content that you appreciate. Also, if you are listening after the fact or live, hit that subscribe button to catch all our future content. Leave comments below, all of that good stuff. All of that stuff, every bit of interaction helps and shows that algorithm that this is content you appreciate. I also want to extend a special thanks to our Patreon supporters and channel members, our big damn heroes over on Patreon, and supporters at every level over there, actually. Our channel members, Jason Cropper, Mr. Pazdzernik, Jer Schultz, Game Notes, Night City Punk, and Terror K. Saw several of you in the chat today. Thank you so much for joining us. And everybody else as well. Thank you for the excellent conversation in the chat today. Don't forget to join our Discord server for lots more of that. And all kinds of fun conversations going on over there. If you're listening after the fact on SoundCloud, iTunes, Spotify, or any of the other platforms that this podcast goes to, we appreciate your interactions on those platforms as well. And don't forget, you can join the live show on Wednesdays and Saturdays, where you can interact with us and other listeners and be part of the discussion. The Discord server has the exact times and schedule. The Augmented Reality podcast is a presentation of the Triple S League. Check out our YouTube channel for game guides, reviews, comedy, news updates, and tons more quality gaming content. My name is Ash. On behalf of Cyb and the Mad Queen, thank you all so much for listening, and we'll talk to you again very soon.